my name is Paul Jenkins, Managing Director of UK Packaging Innovation Consultancy, ThePackHub. I'm delighted to be joined today by Ian Beresford, Head of Marketing Development at Essentra Tapes. Hello, Ian, how are you?
I'm very well, Paul. Thanks for inviting me on today.
Delighted to have you join me today. First of all, really interested to find out a little bit about yourself, what you do at Essentra.
Thanks very much, Paul. So, thanks for the introduction. So, I'm Ian Beresford. I'm the Head of Marketing and Development for the tapes business within Essentra. So, myself and my team are involved with all things looking at the future of the business, what markets to play in, what new product solutions we're bringing, and how we market that to our end customers. So, really exciting part of the business to be in. Lots of new things going on. It's really good.
Excellent. One of those new things was the recent consumer research that you've commissioned, and I've seen you lots of the packaging press talking about the research, and would like to find out a bit more about it today. So, So first of all, tell us what you did.
Yeah. So clearly, understanding what our end consumers are interested in and what makes them buy products and obviously rebuy products is really important to all of our businesses, really, particularly in the packaging sector. So we really wanted to understand what were the current trends within consumers, and we've done some research in 2013, which was very well received across the industry, and we decided to redo that for the current markets and current climates. So in December last year, we did a survey of 1,000 people. It was focused in the UK initially, and from that we got some really interesting insights into the current trends. So I did a compare and contrast between we've seen basically the same question set as we use in 2013, and a lot of that in terms of the detail is available in the white paper and presentations that we've posted and shared around. There has been a load of great responses, if you like, from the press and wider across the industry. It's generated quite a lot of interest, really, which is great to see. So some of the key takeaways really is that consumers really value packaging that has a purpose. And really, packaging plays a massive role in consumer satisfaction as well, and that sort of the satisfaction with why they've bought the product, and then having the product in a usable format. They know it's genuine. They can actually easily get into it. All these things enhance the pleasure of the consumer in the product that they've actually bought. So the packaging is fundamental to that enjoyment and that sort of lack of frustration sometimes that people have with packaging. So some of the key takeaways really were that too much packaging is now the number one frustration in the consumer's eyes with packaging. So that changed a bit from where it was in 2013, but it's now 58% of the consumers were highlighting that as an issue.
Okay.
Further to that, they said that consumers had a massive frustration around packaging that was difficult to open, with 57% saying that was a huge problem for them. And a further 48% of that were saying that they had to use knives or other tools to get into the packs. And that was a change from 2013, so a slight improvement, so slightly less people having to use tools to get in. So obviously easy opening mechanisms, things like that are having a benefit to reducing consumer frustration, but certainly it's still a problem for them if they can't get into a pack. We asked people questions around what types of packs were the most frustrating. So we've got some information around, so things like clamshells, very difficult to get into. Consumers don't like that. In fact, they hate it. They use really quite emotive terms.
Yeah.
And that was the same in 2013 as 2020. So again, we've got lots of information and data that people can find from us on that. We're also saying that too much packaging in goods that are delivered to the home. So the rise of e-commerce, people are really conscious about over-packaged items. So either too much filler, or the box that arrives is way too big, and it's just not well designed. So that's a frustration when it arrives, but also, and how do people recycle that? How do people, hopefully don't just dispose of it, but how do they recycle all this excess of packaging that's coming to them, particularly through e-commerce channels nowadays? And that really changed. It was a big change from 2013. So 56% of respondents were saying there's too much packaging in home delivered goods. And 40% were saying that the amount of waste that generates was a big concern to them. So significant issues for consumers there. An interesting new trend, and I think we could all probably relate to this, is around concerns with hygiene. Yeah. And in the light of sort of COVID, and obviously that's driving a huge trend, and hopefully that won't be too much more long-lived, really. But consumers are really concerned about the hygiene, and particularly goods around supermarkets and takeaways. So where the packaging can help to protect people from contamination with items, with things like COVID were important. So I think that hygiene trend is going to remain, and certainly there was a shift from loose packaged food products to food products that are more sort of multi-packs and things like that, or certainly fruit and veg packed in bags rather than loose. There's been certainly a trend that we picked up on as well. So lots of great information, but really in summary, it's all about packaging with purpose, so that it plays a positive role for the consumer to reinforce why they want to repurchase. Improve pack functionality, things that are easy to open, easy to reclose, informative, but also people can rely on the contents having not been tampered with. They're genuine, is really important. Underlying message of sustainability throughout it all, really making sure that the packaging is well designed, it's minimized, and that people know how to recycle it.
Yeah. Did you get a sense that sustainability was you talked about recycling and over packaging. Did you get a sense that sustainability was more acute for consumers this time around than when you researched 7 or 8 years ago?
Yeah, very much so. I think we can relate to things like the Blue Planet from a few years ago now, but that really sustainability is at the core of what people are interested in nowadays. It's driving a lot of those trends in packaging as we see, but it's really coming from the consumer as well. They believe in it. Interestingly, though, when we asked about sort of the impact on price and things like that, people were, not quite ready to commit in terms of would they pay more for these sustainable items. So there's a tipping point to come. I think obviously as packaging, materials become more accessible to more businesses, the scales of economy will drive down the cost. But certainly that's an interesting conversation that the market will have to have with itself and the consumers in the coming months and years.
Yeah, often consumers talk about they're prepared to pay more for environmental packaging, or whatever you want to call it. But I think sometimes the reality is slightly different. You may say things in research, but it's interesting that your research was validating that they wouldn't necessarily pay more, which is probably what happens in reality.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, do you think would you get any sense from the research that consumers would vote with their feet? There was quite a high percentage that were dissatisfied. What does that? How does that translate? Do they carry on as before, or do they look for alternatives? What's the consequences for brands and retailers and suppliers that introduce suboptimal packaging, I guess?
I think from our takeaway, if you like, from that was that because it was such a significant proportion of the respondents were saying that packaging made them frustrated. Our inference is that would make them probably think twice about buying that particular brand again if they were that frustrated. And as I mentioned, a lot of emotive words like hate. They hate this type of packaging. It really makes them angry, not being able to get into it. So all this emotion makes people choose to do different things afterwards. So whilst we didn't ask the specific sort of repurchase type question because we didn't want to lead people down too much of a path, certainly our inference is that we need to make sure that packaging is well designed and it fits what the consumers need it to do, which is protect the goods and be easy to get into, and then reusable if possible, and then recyclable.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think, I mean, if Essentra takes to do this research again in 7 or 8 years' time, I mean, is there a trend evolving? Do you think, what kind of things do you think you might, I mean, almost impossible to answer, I guess, but what kind of things might you sort of start seeing in 7 or 8 years' time based on the sort of 2 points of research you've done so far?
So I think, without being too cliched, I think the key areas will be that functionality's got to be delivered from packaging. It's got to do what it's designed to do. When packaging is designed well, it's a massive benefit to the product inside the brand and what the consumer gets. So the functionality is going to remain. Now, that will evolve as technology evolves, perhaps more interactive. There'll be all sorts of funky technologies that come through that we can use, but functionality will remain. It's got to do what it says. And within that, obviously, sustainability, mentioned that, but when we spoke on the webinar, when we presented this before, I talked about sustainability, and I think it'll be things like packaging will have to be, at least carbon neutral. If not, you could imagine it where it's actually removing carbon, so it's carbon negative, because it'll all become about carbon footprint, I believe, at the end of the day, and how much greenhouse gases are impacting the environment, and really consumers being able to easily identify with things like the carbon footprint of the goods that they're purchasing. So whether that's because the packaging enhances shelf life and by 3 or 4 times, and therefore that reduces the carbon footprint of the product they're buying, that will become a buying criteria for consumers in the future. So if packaging can reduce that in lots of different ways, that will be really important, I think, for people purchasing.
Yeah, excellent. It'd be interesting to see if consumers use language like carbon neutrality and carbon footprint reduction, because I don't think they quite understand it yet. So maybe there's a role for the industry to inform and educate consumers down that road.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. And I think that was an interesting topic that came out in the research, was that people don't really understand too much about how the recycling methods, the differences in recycling across regions, that the ability, that making it easy for them to make the right choice is what matters. Now, whether that's labeling or the local authorities and the councils having the same standards, whatever it is, we need some consistency that allows consumers to do the right thing, whether that's when they buy it or when they are trying to recycle at the end of life. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Paul. It's, if we can't quite do it with recycling logos and methods at the minute, how are we going to do it in the future? I think the logic, it's going to be simple and easy.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing that new research in 2027 or whatever it might be.
Yes. I'll plan it in now.
Excellent. Get writing the brief now. Right, excellent. So that really well received research that Essentra takes. So it's really good to talk about that. Let's talk a little bit more about the Essentra Takes business. The ThePackHub were at the Packaging Innovation Show last year, and we had the kettle chips reclose solution on our shelves, and it was very well received. People are picking it up, having a play, reclosing it. So tell us a bit more about that and some of your other solutions that you've got available to people.
Absolutely. So so that the solution that we put in place with kettle was great, worked well for them in their brand promotion that they were using it for, so the reclose functionality, but also the combined with that sort of base function of reclosability that we provide, the ability to put brand message big and bold on the front of the pack across the whole height of the pack was well received. And that's really why, one of the key reasons why they chose it, was to be able to promote other products from their primary brand, and that worked well for them with future campaigns and further work are going on with Kettle right now, which is great news. But really, the point of choosing it was that it allowed them to do that brand messaging without changing the main pack, which can be expensive, a lot of waste for them in that scenario. So, simply, change the tape, not the pack, was kind of how we progressed well with them. So that's a great example of kind of that, the combined functionality that our solutions can bring. And we tend to talk about these four themes, the four solutions that we bring as a business, which is all about open, close, inform, and protect. And we always attempt to combine the two key functions of easy opening and easy reclosing with, a promotional aspect, this inform aspect, and also the protect aspect, which can be anything from simply tamper evidence through an opening device like a tear tape, or it might be some of our authentication inks and technologies there that are much more covert in their ability to protect brands from being counterfeited. So a real sort of suite of options to provide and enhance people's packaging.
Excellent. So what categories, and obviously Kettle chips is food. I mean, what categories does Essentra Tapes provide services for? Yeah,
so our heritage, if you like, is in easy opening of tobacco packaging. So the overwrap on a pack of cigarettes, the tear tape there, that easy opening device there is our heritage. Certainly in more recent years, the prevalence of paper and board packaging, and particularly e-commerce packaging. So the ripper tapes that you get on e-commerce boxes, on mailers, are a big part of our portfolio. Those easy opening ripper tapes there. So the paper and board market is a big market for us, e-commerce, as I mentioned, and then the food and beverage market. So into beverage, we're looking at things like easy removal of shrink sleeves. So shrink body sleeve, having a tear tape down there that allows the segregation of the shrink sleeve from the bottle, the PET bottle that it's on, again, to help consumers with recycling, as well as easy access onto the shrink sleeve if it's just a tamper evident shrink sleeve on the top of a bottle lid as well. So really spread across those key markets of tobacco, transit packaging in the paper and board industry, and the food and beverage industry. We do also get into applications that need our solutions in electronics, in the medical and personal care market spaces, and also in beauty as well. We get some quite interesting applications on perfume brands where people want a lot of standout print and brand communication on an opening tape that goes on a wrapper. So some really interesting applications there as well.
Excellent. And how might the innovation process work? Would typically a client come to you with a problem they need solving, or do you proactively go to potential clients with answers to anticipated problems, I guess?
Exactly. So yeah, we follow exactly that two routes of particularly if a customer has an individual challenge that they want help solving, we will provide bespoke solutions for them. So if they want some custom materials or a custom print, they have a particular challenge to overcome, and then we'll provide the solutions. And it must be said that it's not just the sort of the tape solution, if you like, or the ink solution that we provide. It's a sort of a suite of options. So if you would like a tape solution from us, then we've also got the machines, the applicated machines that can be integrated into into the production process to make it easy to actually apply the tape onto the primary packaging, which then is used to pack the product and send it to the consumer. So it's a total solution. So yeah, custom solutions, and then yeah, we also are very much interested in what are the key market trends. So that is one of the other reasons for doing consumer research, like we have done, is to understand where's the consumer going, which will ultimately influence the brands and the retailers, and therefore we are aligned with what those future market trends are. And that's a lot of the work that we're doing on sustainable packaging and the sustainable tapes that we are inventing at the minute. It's really this journey, and sustainability is the underlying key for us at the minute, is mimicking the great performance of the products we have today with ones that are increasingly more sustainable. So a journey of towards more paper-based, with some hybrid solutions in there as well, to bring the functionality, but also bring the sustainability credentials relevant to those brands, to the mass market, if you like. And then we go and talk to the customers and propose those options.
Yeah, understood. Ian Beresford, thank you ever so much for your time. Really appreciate it. So how can people get hold of you?
Yes, thanks, Bob. It's been great. So easy ways to get a hold of me are, I'm obviously on LinkedIn, so you'll find me on there. We have our own LinkedIn page as well for Essentra Tapes, so feel free to reach out to us via that. And we're on essentra.com/capabilities tapes, so you'll find us there as well. But if you want to get a hold of me personally, it's ianberesford@essentra.com. I look forward to hearing from you.
Excellent, Ian. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Right, it's a cut.